thanks a lot, Facebook. You made me think Ray Donovan was actually going to begin on a Saturday instead of a Sunday. Well, I got news for you. Facebook you. I actually have a DVR that's actually smart and knows stuff. Well, anywho, another week, another episode of Ray Donovan. And I just want to get a few things out of the way. First of all, yes, last week's episode, that jumped up in views for some odd reason, and I just want to say thank you very much for viewing that episode for whatever reason. And out of all the episode vlogs that I've done for so many years, and that one seems to be bizarrely my most popular one of the bunch, getting over 200 views for some reason. But whatever the reason, that one is the most popular. Thank you so much for watching. And since then, that and since the episode got released, or at least the view for that review got released, my subscriber count has been gaining up by 20%. And sometime I might be able to get 3,000 subscribers. Who knows? But anywho, let's talk about this week's episode. This is Get Even Before Leavin'. And that actually somewhat rhymed. Yes, that actually did rhyme, because there's even before leavin'. Because there's a G missing out of this. Because it rhymes like a rap. But, well, yeah, let's just jump into this thing, because I don't want to get into the details of rhyming and rap, because I'm not good at rap. So anyways, we have Ray looking into the casino while he's gambling for information on what the idea is behind the stolen horseshoe or whatever. But we see and find out that Ray, or at least that Mick, has just been fiddling around while Ray's been looking into the information of this missing horseshoe. One instance is he's been going all sniper from TF2, having a piss jar sitting in the car. Which is nasty as hell, but for some reason or another, I find that hilarious. Which, if you ever play TF2, it's pretty funny. They don't do that in Overwatch, but it's funny. We see that, during all this, Ray gets, talks into the information about the people from the last episode, and that he's got to return to LA for the Russians. Otherwise, he's into trouble. Because from the past 2 episodes, I believe that's Little Big Primm. Yeah, I believe that's it. Little Big Primm, while they were in lockdown or whatever, he's got to figure out how they're going to deal with the situation Ray's got to deal about the situation about the Russians invading their family life. But what does that mean for the rest of the family? Well, Ray's private investigator, Avi, is basically looking after the whole family, including staying inside the whole house and looking after Connor, making sure he's staying inside the right track. Which, as you know, for the most part, he's trying to, but for the most part, Connor's good at some stuff, but for the most part, he's not at others. So Avi makes a bet with Connor that he would read a book if he would stop playing video games. Or at least he would lose to Avi. But if Connor wins, Avi would have to teach Connor how to basically, like, how to shoot a gun. Or at least how the bare basics of gun training. Because Connor's a stupid teenager. Unlike the episode Walk This Way. Unless he was stupid back then. I don't know. I really need to take a look into that episode again. But anywho, Bridge is feeling a little bit uncomfortable back at the gym because, the incidents of their whole family's backstory of being, that whole rapist priests and all that. Almost like that one movie about the movies based on the true events. Spotlight, that's it. But let's not get into that because I don't want to get an MA rating off of this. Although it kind of sort of is. Anywho, Ray talks to one of the people in his heist, talks into one of Mickey's crew members, McKay, into an isolated place on the road where they could basically kidnap him and get the information on where one of the crew members, Pinky, is located and where the money is for the location. Hector, from one of the few episodes earlier on, winds up coming to the gym where Daryl winds up chatting with him about about some of the events that, he's actually seen from earlier on in the series that we've actually I don't think we've ever seen before, but yeah, it's actually good to see that other characters are interacting with Hector in the series. But anywho, Bunchy just can't take care of the baby. Took me a while to remember the baby, Marie. And we see that she has to take, that Bridge offers to take care of her, but, Bunchy takes her to Teresa's place to look after her. But during their chat, Therese wants, jurisdiction over the baby. But this leads into some trouble over chit-chat here and there, but luckily it doesn't lead into too much trouble. But it could also lead into some sort of trouble over legal issues, because I just don't want to name them here, but it can lead into legal trouble. Look it up on Google, or something like that. I know it, but I don't want to get into trouble because of complicated reasons. So, let's cut back to where Ray and Mickey wind up taking over McKay. Anywho, they tie up McKay, they punch him out, tie him up, and, they shoot him in the leg, and, he confesses where, the location of one of the members is. Where Pinky is, the location of where the horseshoe money is. But that, where the drive-thru isn't very important. We see Avi lose to Connor as he winds up receiving flowers, but he's a little bit afraid of them being a bit poisonous, since this is coming from the Russians, as, Avi here decides to teach Connor a lesson or two about how the gun works, like the safety, trigger mechanisms, all that good stuff. But is it actually going to work to some advantage, or is it going to fail miserably? Who knows what's going to happen, because there are some mishaps that can happen with guns, misfires, Well, let's hope Connor learns his gun safety. Anywho, Abby winds up going to the doctor, but unfortunately this leads to some complications where she's pretty desperate, where she doesn't want her boobs cut off. Her doctors tell her about some other options, but this leads to some slim options. And trust me, she doesn't want some slim options further on down the line. And we'll see your story much more further on. But we cut back to McKay, where he obviously leads down to where the location of the horseshoe money is, as Pinky attempts to burn the money, but in the long end, Pinky winds up burning himself and exploding himself because he's holding the gas tank, and obviously we don't see chunks of him blowing up, which leads into, a bunch of them running away and whatnot, and them having to get leave McKay running away from the situation, driving him, as you say, in the business. Now, let's see now. Now, Hector winds up going to the gym, as we said before, as he winds up seeming to be attracting a crowd at the Donovan fight gym. And he actually gets Daryl involved in, teaching him a thing or two about fighting in his style. Which is actually kind of interesting the more I think about it. But that is only the one thing I could say about it. It is interesting. Now we see that Primm obviously winds up baiting Mickey's girlfriend into telling them the location of where Ray and Mick are for the $4 million, as, Primm gets the police over to just about arrest them, but, he just grabs the money and, takes their photos, tells them to stay away from Primm, Nevada, and, Mick and Ray just return back to Nevada and return back to LA, as, Mick knows about about Abby's, incident with her breast cancer, and they talk about, how much they really cared about Ray's mother and all that, which was very sad to hear something like that. I can't. As Ray, or at least Mick, wants to turn himself into the police for the murders that have been happening on for the past 4 seasons. What would this lead down to? What would happen? I don't know. Next week we'll have the answers. And what happens in the end? Well, Connor finds the lock for Ray's gun. He breaks it, grabs the gun, and, Marie returns to the gym, and Ray gets a call for a job, and he drives off to find out information about it. And thus, Get Even Before Leaving is at an end. Now, this here episode, it felt like it went by so quick and so fast that I don't really know what to say about it, except I really wish it could have gone with the money, but it's like bad luck really struck the Donovans. And there's so many questions that I wonder will happen to them that I really want to know what happens in next week's episode. So, if any of you are looking forward for next week's episode, Well, don't get cocky, and hope you look forward to next week's episode. So, oh, and before I forget, this week, few new videos are coming out. Well, I should say two, because one is a movie review for a brand new DC animated movie that's coming out by Phantom Events and Warner Brothers. So, look forward to reviewing that. And this week, oh boy, I look forward to the return of My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic of season 6 part 2. Yeah, season 6 part 2. So I don't know how this is going to cut into the Ray Donovan vlogs, and anyway, let's hope it doesn't. And in that respect, hope to see you guys for next week's episode for the Batman Killing Joke review, and for next week's, or Saturday's, all-new My Little Pony Friendship is Magic episode. And that's about it. So that's it for the updates, and I actually have the and then the ending to the Everfree Northwest vlogs. I mustn't forget this. It's on the way. I have finally finished up the montage. So, it's on the way. Don't worry about it. I am on it. So, don't get your knickers in a Peruvio twist. And if you get where that line is from, congrats to you. But if you don't, that's from DuckTales. Okay? That's it for the update on where everything is. So, see you guys for next week's videos and all that, okay? Alright. Later.